this is the 70s. What is it? 73, 74? I forgot. 375. Must make it about 74 or 75. D-28. Heads for a tone quest report, and they sent it to me to work on to see what what I can do. And it had the typical 70s problems. The bridge was misplaced by about 1/8 of an inch. Needed a neck reset. Had the big rosewood bridge plate. Of course, it was a standard 70s guitar. So starting from the top, I put Grover 18-to-1 tuners on it. I did a bone nut. And I'm laughing at that because, that was one of the last things I did. And I had about 3 hours to get that nut done before I had to leave for Kansas. So I thought, oh, no problem, plenty of time, right? I blew the first one. I mean, I was looking for 260 of an inch spacing between the strings. And I ended up at 260, 260, 250, 250, and 240. And I'm like, So I threw that note away. I got another blank out. Went over there to the sander, pushed it, and immediately sanded it way too far. It's got to be 225, 230 wide. And I immediately sanded it down to 210. So I threw that one away. And now I'm getting, pressed for time here. I got to leave. And I wanted to get it done so that it could all sit done, for a couple of days, which is something I always like to do. Anyway. Took a deep breath. Got the nut done. So that's why I'm laughing at the nut. I got it done. So anyway, 15 new frets. It goes up to here. The upper frets are still pretty good. God, it looks like I did those. No, I didn't. They're just a little different there. The upper frets were still good. In fact, probably from here on up was fine. But since I was that far, I just went ahead and did the rest of them. That way I have control over the fingerboard. And I shaped the fingerboard right up in here in order to reduce the relief a little bit. And the relief right now was really nice. I did a good job on that. Thank you very much. So I fixed the relief, 15 frets. I did a bridge plate on it because I scooted the bridge and patched up the finish in front of the bridge, which came out pretty good. I got a good color match, and the only issue is the dark line that's right there in front of it, and that's where the old finish was, and that is really extraordinarily hard to get rid of sometimes. I even went in and feathered it in a little bit because my first shot was a really dark line, and I didn't like the way that looked, so I removed the finish that I put on, which I could do because it was still kind of wet. And I feathered in a little bit more, and that made it softer. But you got to be careful about the feathering because when the new finish, no matter what it is, whether it's lacquer, shellac, super glue, I don't care what it is, it's going to have a different look to it because of the chatoyance factor. And that's the way the light reflects off the top. So at certain angles, that looks really good. And at other angles, you can see the light reflecting differently. Anyway, you got to watch that feathering because it's hard to get the feathering even, and boy, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing worse than seeing a jaggy dark line going across the top. So it is what it is. I got the color match pretty good. I couldn't quite get rid of that dark line, but what can you do? Like I said in a lot of other videos, every option for fixing these bridges is ugly. And to me, that's probably the least ugly of the bunch. And it puts the bridge in the correct location. And I was doing a bridge plate. So now we have a new bridge because the previous one had been shaved. We've got a new bridge plate, and everything's in the right spot. And it's a little further back on the X-brace, which I think gives it just a tiny bit more open sound. It's more, remember, more like a 30s. Just a little. I mean, it's only 1/8 of an inch. It's not dramatic, but it's a little bit. So anyway, new bridge plate, bridge is scooted. Got a new pickguard. The other one was just shriveled and cracking, and And after couple of color tries, we all decided on the black pickguard, which I think looks good. It looks original. It matches the bridge, the fingerboard, And I like the way it blends into the dark edge of the sunburst. I usually comment that it completes the sunburst. So this is getting darker and darker, and I really like, you know, when they get almost black at the edges. I like that burst, but this matches everything in there. And some of the colors I got sent were, you know, the pixelated purple garden. There's no way in the world I'm putting that on. And the others were reddish and that kind of thing. They're still sitting over there somewhere, but I got no use for those. But when I put the black one on there, you know, it looked pretty good. I had one of mine that looked decent. It was a tortoiseshell looking one, and it matched this color pretty good, and that would have been my second choice. But there's not a thing in the world wrong with the black pickguard on this. It keeps the 70s motif. Okay, so that's what we did. I did a neck reset on it, you know, while that was happening. I took quite a bit off the neck, actually. About 45 thousandths off the heel. This guitar still has more in it. This is what I would call a super stock 70s. Meaning it's still got the popsicle brace. I haven't scalloped the braces any. So those would be the only two things, really. You know, scalloping, popsicle brace. And that all just depends on what kind of sound you want. Now, the popsicle brace to me is like a freebie. I don't think anybody has ever complained about having the sound that the removing the popsicle brace gives. It opens up the upper bout a little bit and lets the highs sound a little bit airier. Although this guitar does sound pretty good, so you know, if anybody has any question or they have any doubt whatsoever about the popsicle brace, people say, "Oh, does it really do anything?" Then fine, we're done. Forget it. I'm not doing it. You know. Have you ever had any trouble with it cracking? Forget it. I'm not doing it. So I don't have a problem in the world of leaving it in there. I'm just saying there's more to be had from this guitar. But it does sound pretty good. Now, I mean, it's got light gauge strings on it right away. So, you know, I'd probably put mediums on it. But it sounds good. It plays good. I'm trying to evaluate the tone of the thing here. And I hear potential still for me. Someone else might not want that potential. I think the bass sounds pretty good, though, you know. That doesn't sound super nasally. I hear a little nasally on it. But it's also tight and punchy. I like the mids of that. And then I cheated, you know, these had light gauge strings. I couldn't stand the trebles. I like a firm treble, so I switched them with the 17 and the 13. And when I'm playing, I like that firm feel in the treble. I don't like on a flat picking acoustic guitar. I don't like trebles that slide out of my way. I want them on there. So I did cheat and put 17s and 13s on here. Well, because the string broke when I was doing all my tuning, so I don't have any extra 12s. I put a 13 on it. And then I took a set off another guitar and it had a 17, so I looked at it and I thought, put it on here. So, and that's not a bad gauge. I like that a lot. On a lot of my personal guitars, I will run lights here in the middle, and then I run a 17 and a 13 and a 56 down here. So I have lights on these three strings and mediums on the outer strings. D'Addario makes that set. That's an EJ24. GHS makes it. The True Medium TM335. You know, a lot of guys make it. I make my own, usually out of Elixir Nano Rebs. I get the HD set, and then I put a 56 on top of that, and I have it. Anyway, tone-wise, good. You know, it's clear, clean. Got a lot of punch. I mean, I like it. I probably would not scalp the braces right now. I would not be in any big hurry to do that. You know, I could be done with this guitar easily. The main thing about it for me, and I've still talked about this lots of times before, is the neck. The neck is where I play the guitar. And this guitar has a great neck on it. This is like the epitome of the really good 70s necks. It's got a slight rounded V to it. It's not too thin up in here. and it's got a nice heft up in here. And this, boys and girls, is a really, really good neck. If Martin had put this neck on the 41 Authentic over there, it would have made it so much better, in my opinion. The 41 neck is thinner front to back and feels thin and feels like I'm playing a toothpick compared to this one. This one is fantastic, and the V is just superb. So this is a great neck here. So to me, that's why I'm always doing that kind of thing. I'm getting a feel for that neck. And everything's there. The sound to me is like, I'm going to say half of the guitar, maybe even less than half, because it's a D-28, it's a D-28. It's got the old Indian Wizard with the pepper speckles in it, which I like. It's got a nice maple bridgeplate. It's clear, it plays in tune. So it kind of is what it is. There's maybe spectacular ones out there for you. The next guy might not like that one, This one sounds pretty good to me. I mean, I got no complaints about the sound. So the sound is just part of it. What really matters to me is how the guitar feels in my hands. And that comes down to the neck, the tuners, the weight of the guitar, the balance of it in my lap. How does it feel? And how does it look? Because I like sunburst. And so this guitar is a good looking guitar. And I would play it well for that reason. Because it looks sharp. It's got a great neck on it. The frets are nice. The frets, of course, I just, I put them in so they're fresh, tall frets. You can get your finger in there, you can. You got room to do little flourishes like that. You got a good bite on the frets. They're not so tall that I can't do slide. The guitar feels really good to me. So, to me, that's, that's 75% of a guitar for me. It's not the sound, but the way it feels in my hands. How does it play? The neck's alive. It's shaking, vibrating, thanks to having light tuners on there, thanks to having a nice stiff neck. I can feel the strings, vibrating in my hand. Feel them on the fingerboard, on the fingers. Feel the back kicking me and the ribs right here. You can feel that. I like that, yeah. Getting good snap out of it. But I use my fingers on that and you get good pop out of it. That's one thing that a non-scallop guitar would do better than a scallop bass. A scallop bass would have a deeper tone, and you don't get that. You don't get that snap. It's Telecaster sound is what it is, And obviously you don't use that on a flat pick and fiddle tune, but it is there. It's kind of an undercurrent, It's kind of an undercurrent of poppy tone that when I want it, when I hit that. There's some articulation going in there that sometimes the scallop bass is kind of a little muddy, So it's a nice guitar. Oh, there we go. This is the Tone Quest 1970s D-28. modified to super stock. And I guess it's going to go home one of these days. It's a good guitar. It's pretty, too. Live long and prosper. I'm just admiring it. Admiring it in the camera. It's a good-looking guitar. I'd like to have a sunburst. In fact, I'd like to have this guitar. Yeah, it's got scratches on it, beauty marks. Everything's right now. I definitely own this guitar. I need it. Bye-bye.